right, so parents across the country are in back-to-school mode. There is still a lot of uncertainty exactly what the fall semester will look like, especially when it comes to fall sports and football. Now, already some states have announced they're either playing in the spring, pushing back to a later start date. Some players are reclassifying, so that makes it a little more difficult or unique, we should say, to try to put together the top 25 schools in the preseason across the country. But Max Preps, they were up to the task. Now, keep in mind, there is no California here. IMG Academy does come in at #1, so you're not going to have the likes of Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, but IMG still at the very top there. Now, so far, out of all of these schools, we've only seen one of them play so far. That would be the 14th ranked team, Corner Canyon. All right, let's bring in Zack Poff to talk about this list in the top 25. But before we get to that, let's just talk about how, like I said, unique it was for Max Preps to put it together.
Yeah, I mean, this was crazy. I mean, back in June, we initially came out with our preseason top 25. And more news came out that some states were electing to move to the spring. So that wiped out 10 teams that were in our initial release back in June. So what we're doing now is we're going to have schools that are playing in the fall and have their own national rankings. And then we'll have a separate rankings in the spring that include the likes of Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Servite, and all of the WCAC teams out in the DMV area. So a very crazy situation. And, you know, a lot can still change because Florida came out last week, announced they're moving ahead to start practicing with games beginning as early September. But that still leaves some teams in question. You know, you got Broward County with, you know, St. Thomas Aquinas, who checks in at #3, and then more South Florida teams like Miami Central, Miami Northwestern, American Heritage, 3 other teams in the top 25. They are still in a TBA situation where they're not sure when they're going to actually be able to start practicing and start playing games. So it's kind of wait and see for them. But as of now, they're still aiming to play this fall. So they're currently in the rankings. But if something happened where they would move to 2021, then we'd have to wipe out those teams and move them to the spring season. So it's going to be kind of crazy each week. But the one good thing I will say this is Utah, we saw last week play, and we haven't seen a lot of COVID cases come out. Obviously, it's still pretty recent because it was just last weekend, but something to keep an eye on. And we saw with Iowa baseball this year, too, where they actually had a lot of success with playing sports with fans in attendance, too.
All right, we saw the list of IMG Academy, #1 in the country. You were pointing out, though, they still don't even have a complete schedule yet. Explain that to us.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, they had teams from the WCAC lined up this year, and they're not playing. They're moving their season to 2021. But we were talking to Bobby Acosta, the head coach at IMG Academy. The schedule's getting put together. We saw September 4th will be their opener against Venice High School, another Florida team. And get your popcorn ready for this one. October 9th at Arlington Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas, home of the Texas Rangers. They will be playing #6 Duncanville High School. So that'll be a 1-versus-6 matchup on October 9th. Easily will be the best game of the high school season in the fall. And it's going to be funny, though. I was just thinking of this. So the Texas Rangers have been playing there, but they haven't had any fans. Will this be the first actual event at Arlington Globe Life where there's going to be fans in attendance? Because Texas is aiming to allow fans to come into high school football games. So that's going to be very interesting. But that's going to be a big-time game. I mean, you just look at all the ballers on IMG Academy. You got J.J. McCarthy. You got J.C. Latham. You got 5-star wide receiver Jacory Brooks, who transferred over from Booker T. Washington. And then you got Duncanville, a team that's finished, you know, #2 in the state of Texas in each of the past 2 seasons. They lost to North Shore in the 6A D1 championship game in both those years, but they're aiming to get that state title this year, and they're loaded once again. They got to replace Jaquindon Jackson and Chris Thompson Jr., but they're loaded, man. Roderick Daniels, a Baylor wide receiver commit, he's about as saucy as it gets. And you got Amari Abor on the defensive line and a bunch of other dudes. Kendrick Blackshire will be making his Duncanville debut also. He tore his ACL as a junior, wasn't able to play. He's an Alabama commit. He's going to be an absolute savage this year, so he's going to have fun going against IMG Academy for sure.
All right, a lot of ballers, as you said, there at IMG Academy and in Florida, just across the state in general. But Texas in the top 25 actually edges out Florida with 7 teams in the top 25. So this state, my state, just becoming very dominant here.
You know what? They go big in Texas. You know this, Amanda, but you just look at all the teams there. You got North Shore. I love Demetrius Davis at quarterback. This is a dude who absolutely balls out. He'll be on the short list of players to actually win National Player of the Year. This is a guy that has nearly 10,000 yards of total offense in the last 2 seasons, has helped lead North Shore to back-to-back 6A Division I state championships. He's actually the first quarterback since Kyler Murray to win back-to-back state titles in Texas's largest classification. And he's going to be going for that three-peat that we saw Kyler Murray get with Allen. And then a couple other teams that are from Texas in the top 25. Obviously, we mentioned Duncanville at number 6. Katy, head coach Gary Joseph has his team ready every single season. One of the best head coaches. They're loaded with a bunch of dudes. And then another team I can't wait to watch this year, South Lake Carroll. You know, Quinn Ewers, the #1 quarterback, #1 player in the class of 2022. I know this hurts, Amanda, but he just committed to Texas. And he's going to be a guy to watch this year. He was our sophomore player of the year last season. And, you know, with Coach Dodge there, I believe South Lake Carroll is going to make a run for, you know, winning that state title and, you know, maybe halting that three-peat that North Shore's trying to get.
He was just confused, but it's okay. He'll be fine. We'll see if we can correct that. Let's talk about the one team that has actually played in the top 25 thus far. That would be Corder Canyon. As you mentioned in Utah, which you said actually really good. Not a lot of COVID cases. They're very, very low. But let's talk about the team because they extended their winning streak now to 27. You say their QB is an absolute baller. I love that his last name is Dart. It couldn't be more fitting. So what did you see from him in this team?
He was throwing a lot of darts. I mean, last week he made his Corner Canyon debut. All he did was go 14 of 15 in the first half, threw for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then on top of that, he did some work with his feet, rushed for nearly 80 yards and 2 more scores. Did this all in the first half. They were up 49-0. They finally took him out. They ended up winning 49-20 to win their 27th game in a row. They play next week against Harriman High School on this Friday, but the next week is the game to get your popcorn ready. They're playing Bingham. Bingham has been a powerhouse in Utah for the last decade, even longer than that, and Corner Canyon is kind of the new king on top, so that's going to be a fun game to watch. And rumors are swirling that this might be on ESPN, but we'll have to wait and see. But Corner Canyon, yeah, the first team to play in this top 25, and that's why we really wanted to come out with our rankings too. We didn't feel it's fair to maybe come out with rankings later as more states go, because, you know, if teams are in the top 25, we should come out for those rankings initially. And another team that will be playing this weekend that will be in the top 25 is Thompson out in Alabama. They're the defending 7A state champs. They won their first state title since 1982 last year, and they open up with the 6A state champs Oxford this Saturday, and you can actually watch that game live on the NFH network. It's going to be a big-time game, and they got this cat, Jeremiah Alexander, 2022 Alabama commit. Dude is a savage.
Zach, let me ask you, out of this top 25, who's your dark horse? Who are you secretly excited about?
I'm going with my guy, Kyron Jones, Shadow Creek High School. This was a team that ran the table last year, won a state title, beat a very good Denton Ryan team, a team that's also in the top 25. And I think those two teams are going to meet again late in the playoffs, and it's going to be a get your popcorn ready type of game. But that's who I got my money on, man. I'm liking those boys out there at Shadow Creek High School. That's going to be a team to watch out for. I think they're number 16 in our top 25. Also a dark horse. You don't see them on there, but they're actually number 25, Bergen Catholic. And New Jersey's not going to actually start until early October. But that is a team that I love this year. You got Tywin Malone, the #1 player in New Jersey in the class of 2021. Then Stephen Angeli at quarterback, 2022 kid. I think this kid's going to shred some defenses.
All right, Zack Poff, we'll get your popcorn ready. As you said, we've seen one team play so far. We have others coming up. And then eventually we will get this full season going and underway. Zack Poff, thank you so much for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ.